Hi, I'm Codex, and in this video, I'm going to be going over a bunch of miscellaneous tips, tricks, and ideas to think about. Most of this stuff is extremely situational, and other stuff is pretty much just academic knowledge that I think is interesting. The benefit of any one of these things is probably going to be pretty small, but a small benefit is better than no benefit, and hopefully there's at least one thing in here that you didn't already know, and you're able to get some use out of this information. So, let's get started. When you're arms and take collateral damage, it's not uncommon for your cleave ad to die during sweeping strikes, leaving you sitting there with the stacks that you built up and only one target present. I wanted to figure out if it was worth using a whirlwind to spend those stacks on a single target or not. To do this, I took the tooltip damage of Slam and the tooltip damage of Whirlwind, and then I calculated the number of stacks needed for a Whirlwind to do more damage than a Slam, given that each stack of collateral damage increases the damage of Whirlwind by 25%. The answer to that is 4 stacks. But the thing is, Whirlwind costs more rage than Slam. So really, what I wanted to know was when does Whirlwind do more damage per rage spent than Slam? So I went back and I took those tooltip damage numbers, and for Whirlwind I divided it by 30, and for Slam I divided it by 20. And now the breakpoint is 8 stacks. This means that if you have 8 or more stacks of collateral damage, and there's only one target present, then it's better to use those stacks by spending your rage on Whirlwind than it is to just use Slam. If you have less than 8 stacks, then the safe play is to just let those stacks rot. When you're Fury, something to note is that you can AoE apply Hamstring with Whirlwind stacks. This can be rather useful if you need to keep a group of mobs slowed, but Piercing Howl is on cooldown. For some reason, Ignore Pain costs 60 rage when you're Fury, as opposed to 40 rage when you're playing as Arms or Prot. I'm personally convinced that the only reason why Blizzard did this is so that they could watch me panic every time that I forget about this difference and try to use Ignore Pain at 50 rage when I'm Fury. When you're playing as Fury, if you take Frothing Berserker, it does not get affected by Recklessness and will only ever give you 20 rage. I suspect that this is because there is some internal flag that makes a distinction between rage that was generated and rage that was refunded. Since Recklessness increases rage generation by 100%, if the rage isn't considered generated, then it obviously wouldn't get the bonus. That, or Blizzard just forgot to add it to the list of things that get affected by Recklessness, like they did with Arcane Torrent. When you intervene someone, you only transfer damage of attacks. This means that it will not transfer any dot or AoE damage that the target is taking. Because of this, if you take the Safeguard Conduit, you can use it as an external cooldown on your tanks and not have to worry about dying if they're not tanking the boss and have a massive dot on them. Additionally, this damage reduction persists even if you're further than 10 yards away from the target. An example of where you could maybe use this is in Phase 3 Mythic Sylvanas, when your off-tank has gathered up all the puddles from a platform and you have to hold them because you need to spread for Fail or Scream. Now, even when empowered, this only would provide an 18% damage reduction, so it's not that great relative to other externals, but it is a 30-second cooldown. This also most likely isn't something that you should be building into your guild strategies, and instead, the best way for you to use this is to do it whenever you think the tank might die in one of these situations, and then loudly and smugly tell them that you saved their life. Just in case you are not already aware of this, the warrior Sense from the guild Nerfed on Tychondrius maintains a spreadsheet tracking all of the spells that you can spell reflect for all of the dungeons and raids in Shadowlands. If you don't have this spreadsheet bookmarked already, you should do so. I've linked to it in the description, and also check out the guy's Twitch and YouTube channels if you're into Prot Warrior content. In the same vein, another excellent spreadsheet that you should have bookmarked is the Conqueror's Banner spreadsheet made by Saraline of Pieces. This spreadsheet assesses the value provided by Banner for a given spec, and this can be extremely useful if you're thinking about ever going Necrolord. I've also linked to this spreadsheet in the description, and you should of course check out his Twitch channel during the race to World First because he is an absolute god gamer. In a previous video, I looked at different opening rotations and came to the conclusion that doing Rend, then Avatar, Colossus Smash, Ancient Aftershock, Overpower, then Mortal Strike was the best. This is still generally true, but if you're soulbound with Karain, then depending on your haste, you may not be able to fit this entire opener inside the duration of First Strike. In certain scenarios, it would be better to prioritize using Mortal Strike before Overpower because the value provided by that crit chance is worth more when used on a Mortal Strike than the value provided by Overpower getting that extra crit chance instead, plus the damage bonus to Mortal Strike from using that Overpower. So, this begs the question, what are the breakpoints for this? how many GCDs we have during first strike is dependent on how much haste we have. And because we use Overpower and Mortal Strike on our 4th and 5th global cooldowns respectively, this means that if we could only fit 3 global cooldowns into first strike, then our rotation isn't going to change at all because neither Overpower nor Mortal Strike would benefit from first strike. On the other hand, if we could fit 5 global cooldowns into first strike, then the opening rotation wouldn't change again because both Overpower and Mortal Strike would benefit from first strike. So basically, we need to figure out how much haste you would need to have in order to only be able to fit 4 global cooldowns into the 5-second first strike buff. Well, these breakpoints are 20% and 50% haste, meaning that if you have under 20% haste, then you're only going to have 3 global cooldowns that occur inside of first strike, and if you have 50% haste or more, you're going to have all 5 of your opening GCDs fit inside of first strike. If your haste is in between these 2 breakpoints, then you're going to have 4 global cooldowns during first strike, and therefore it will be better to use Mortal Strike before Overpower during your opening rotation. But the thing is, many encounters you Lust on pull, and Lust is a multiplicative haste buff and not additive, so how does that influence these breakpoints? Well, it turns out that in order to have enough haste to reach 50%, which would allow you to fit your entire opener inside of first strike, you would need to have 18% haste from your gear. Now, in theory, you can meet the breakpoint at 17%, but that gives you only 7/100ths of a second of wiggle room, which to me seems a bit too tight to be practical. Now, with Lust, there is no lower breakpoint because even if you had 0% haste on your gear, you would still always be able to fit 4 global cooldowns into first strike when Lust is up. So, to reiterate, if you're soulbound with Karain, and if you're not getting Lust, and you have above 20% haste, or you are getting Lust and have below 18% haste, then you should use Mortal Strike before Overpower in your opening rotation. In all other scenarios, you should just stick to your standard opener. And for now, that's all I've got for you. If you know of any little tricks or pieces of edge case knowledge that I didn't mention, tell me about them in the comments. Otherwise, as always, tell me why my opinions are dumb. Also, just as a heads up, one of my next videos is not going to be WoW related at all. It's just a one-off stupid project that I started working on after a few too many drinks one night, and I was having fun doing it, so I figured, why not make a video just because I can? It's not going to be a recurring type of content that I'll be making, so don't freak out and think that I'm changing the main focus of this channel or something like that. And of course, lastly, I just want to say thank you for watching this video, and subscribe for more.